This is the Mets Postcast, your instant game reaction for the New York Mets. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
The New York Mets score 13 unanswered runs. They crush the Philadelphia Phillies in the opening game of this series and move one game closer in the standings. Welcome in to the Mets Postcast here live on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel. You can listen to us in the Locked On Mets podcast feed. I am your Postcast host, Chris Schubert, here with you after each and every Mets game throughout the course of the season. What a fun one tonight. This game certainly had everything. We're going to try to cover it all. I'm sure whatever we don't get to here on the Postcast, Ryan will have for you in the podcast feed and here on the YouTube channel in the morning, because there is certainly a lot to discuss. But the main top line takeaway, this game, this win, felt very 2024-like.
This is what you'll be talking about.
We have been clamoring for majority of the season for the Mets to show us that fight, for the Mets to show us that scratch and claw ability that they had all throughout 2024. It felt like every time you counted the Mets out last season, they battled back. No matter what the deficit was, no matter at what point in the game they were down, they always seemed to come through. And this year, that's been missing. This year, that has felt like the missing ingredient for this team. They've been good. They're holding on to a playoff spot, but that feels like the thing that has stopped them from being closer in the standings to the Philadelphia Phillies, having a way more comfortable lead for that third and final wild card spot, potentially holding on to the number 2 or number 1 wild card spot. Well, guess what? You saw it tonight. Because on a night where their starter did not have it, did not have his best stuff, we'll certainly talk about Kodai Senga's struggles and what the Mets need to do with him moving forward. But he kept the game close enough, and the Mets, they allowed one mistake, one balk by Cristopher Sanchez, who coming into tonight's start was probably number 2 in the Cy Young race, hadn't allowed more than 4 runs in a start this season. The Mets got him for 6. The balk opened the door in the 4th, and this is rare. We never really do this in the opening segment. So not only is this the what you'll be talking about, but we might as well hit you with the turning point as well.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
That 4th inning changed the game. That 4th inning was the moment that this game flipped on its head. And then the ensuing antics, perhaps we can say, in the 5th inning with Alex Bohm pointing out some sound equipment out in center field by the Apple, leading to a 14-minute delay. Got that sound equipment moved. It was a 1-pitch ground out for Jose Castillo, and it was off to the races. Mark Vientos puts the Mets in front, and they tallied up 13 unanswered runs, and they just kept scoring and scoring and scoring, and they tacked it on, and they poured it on. You feel good about this win because of who it was against. You feel good about this win because it showed the fight that this team has been missing a lot this season, but you're also happy that the Mets in the opener of this series said, we're here for a fight. We don't know where this is going to go. We don't know if we're going to be able to erase 7 games, but we certainly aren't just going to roll over in this series, and that, to me, was the absolute top-line takeaway. Huge night offensively. I mean, we'll start with a guy who had 5 RBIs in Luis Torrens. I mean, good to see him back in the lineup for the second straight day, and just a good night for him. The 3-run home run capping off a 4-run 7th where the Mets blew this game open at 6-3. I'm sure some of you were a little worried about how Carlos Mendoza was going to manage this bullpen. You were a little worried about seeing Ryan Helsley there in the 8th. You were worried about the Mets being able to hold on to that lead, but a 4-run 7th broke the game open. The team tacked on 3 in the 8th, and just you look up and down the box score, and other than Francisco Lindor not extending his hitting streak and Pete Alonso kind of continuing to struggle, you saw some great nights from Mark Vientos, who, I mean, I'll officially proclaim it. He's back. I mean, this is the Mark Vientos of last year, taking the ball the other way, being confident in his swing. Couple extra base hits in this game. Gets hit, gets taken out because of that. Just he is back, and him being able to be this level of player for this team in this part of the lineup right now is huge. With Alonso kind of going through it a little bit, struggling. Maybe that long fly out for Alonso is the thing that gets him out of this. But Vientos playing this well certainly cushions that blow. And you did all of this on a night where Francisco Lindor didn't drive in a run. Juan Soto didn't drive in a run. Pete Alonso didn't drive in a run. As Gary mentioned on the broadcast, your top 3 RBI guys on this team did not contribute with a big hit. You got production from everywhere else. So a huge night offensively. Don't adjust your television screens. Don't adjust your computer screens, your tablet screens, your phone screens, however you're watching us. 11 for 19 with runners in scoring position tonight. The Mets have completely turned that around. The Mets have started to hit with 2 outs. They've started to hit with runners in scoring position. This offense has just broken out, and they are doing everything that they did last year, and it's coming at the absolute perfect time. We'll talk about Kodai Senga here, and then on the other side of the break, we'll get to the bullpen. There were some questionable decisions from Carlos Mendoza that I want to get to, and the other stuff to keep an eye on from this game. And I know many of you are asking about Senga, and we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly here on the postcast. We're not just going to only focus on the offense because it was a rough night for Kodai Senga, and he dug the Mets a hole here early. And I noticed it. I certainly looked at the data to see if it was backed up. He just seemed to really only have the feel for the four-seamer and the forkball tonight. The velocity on every one of his other pitches, the sinker, the cutter, down from his averages for the year. Not by a significant amount to where you worry about an injury, but it just felt like he was still trying to figure out the feel for those pitches throughout the start. And right now, it doesn't feel like the Mets can reliably go to Kodai Senga. And I know that they have been hesitant to call up Tong or to call up Sproat, but I just don't see a world where they can continue to run out Kodai Senga every 5th or 6th day and expect him to go deep into the game. So you're going to have to do some type of piggyback scenario. You're not going to completely take him out of the rotation unless there's an injury, unless you're going to place him on the injured list because he's working something out with his mechanics or something's bothering him. He's still not fully healed from the hamstring. I don't know what it is, but he has not been the same pitcher since that injury. And I can't really put my finger on what it is. I tried to look at some of the data tonight to see if there was anything, the velocity being down on those pitches, potentially something to keep an eye on, but I couldn't see anything that really stood out. And as long as he's not on the injured list, they are going to send him out there every 5th or 6th day. They have to come up with a plan on what they're going to do. And I wonder if that's where Jonathan comes in, provides a spark, and he's the piggyback off of Senga on those days, or they try to do that with Sproat. Maybe that's why they were tinkering with Sproat doing that yesterday in Syracuse, that they are trying to map out a world where that can be what they do when Kodai Senga starts. But the Mets are not going to be able to continue to do this. And let's face it, this is not a sentence that I think any of us thought would be said this year. But if the Mets make it to the postseason and they are playing in the wild card and they have to put down 3 starters, I don't see a world where Kodai Senga can be one of those 3. David Peterson's certainly going to be one. With the way he's pitching right now, how is Nolan McLean not the number 2? And with the way Clay Holmes has pitched, he's probably number 3. If Sean Manaea can get back, I think he's going to be in front of Kodai Senga. I just don't see a world where Kodai Senga is going to be asked to start for this team right now, and it is extremely disappointing. It is a tough time for him to go through this stretch, but he has not been good, and I can't even see a little glimmer. There's not anything that you can pick out and say, oh, that was really good. He did a nice job of keeping the Mets in the game. He didn't allow that 4th inning to completely spiral. He kept the game at 3-0. That allowed the Mets back in it, so you tip the cap in that regard. But he needs to be better because he cannot continue to dig the Mets holes every single night out. This offense should be able to score, especially with the way that they're playing right now, but it is unfair to look at the offense every single time Kodai Senga is on the mound and say, hey, you're going to be down 3-4, 5-0. Good luck. Get us back into it. That's just an untenable situation for this offense, and I think it is just unfair. So a really precarious situation with Kodai Senga, and I just don't see a path out of it right now. This definitely feels like an off-season rework of mechanics or how often he's throwing certain pitches and just being away from baseball and maybe rehabbing that hamstring even more, because I don't know what it is at this point, but he is really struggling right now on the mound. Let's talk about the bullpen, the great job that they did, the questionable decisions from the manager. There was a question about whose performance I was most proud of tonight. We will get to all of that here on the other side. Time to fuel up and turn it up. 5-hour energy transfusion. This grape, ginger, and lime-flavored shot brings the iconic taste of a golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic boost. Perfect for sinking birdies or making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Whether you're out on the course or just need a little extra push to power you through the day, 5-hour energy transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors. The grape ginger lime flavor of 5-hour energy transfusion gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without ever leaving the course or chasing down the bev cart. Now you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for 2 to any golf tournament in the USA. Tee up that trip. Visit 5hewin.com for the full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament, and it ends October 31st, 2025. You don't have a lot of time. Tomorrow, August 26th, or if you're listening to us tomorrow, the 26th in the podcast feed, it's officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and those preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, you're eyeing that long shot division winner, or you're ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even begins, this is your moment. Take that flyer. Crown your champ or parlay those division winners. Perhaps you're in on the Jets and the Giants winning their divisions. You want to take a shot. You want to call your shot on FanDuel Futures Day. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Back here on the Mets Postcast, Locked On Mets YouTube channel, the Locked On Mets podcast feed, recapping a fun one. The Mets score 13 unanswered. They crushed the Phillies in the opener of this series. They are now just 6 games back of the Philadelphia Phillies in the NL East. Just a great night across the board. You got a huge offensive night. You saw the fight from this team. The bullpen. How about this bullpen? Other than a Ryan Stanek walk there in the 9th inning, perfect. Not a hit, a blemish against them. They were perfect up until that walk, did not allow a hit, and it was a full party affair. And it was interesting to see the way Carlos Mendoza chose to manage this game. He goes to Castillo for the 1 inning, and maybe it's because of the delay that he didn't want to push him any longer. He goes to Tyler Rogers there in the 6th, and I'm sure many of you were doing the same backwards math that I was doing, trying to figure out how he was going to get to Edwin Diaz in the 9th. At that point, the game was what? 4-3, 6-3. So you know that it's going to be a save situation. So you're trying to do the backwards math. And you were like, this is probably going to be a Ryan Helsley outing if it comes to it. Rogers did a great job. One of the interesting managerial gripes that I have from this game is I'm surprised Rogers didn't get the top of, what would that have been, the 7th inning before they went to Raley to face Schwarber and Harper. I thought they would have given Rogers a chance to get 4 outs and then go to Raley, the lefty, for just the 2 there. Obviously didn't matter, but that felt like a weird decision, especially when earlier they left Kodai Senga in the game after 4, when he probably didn't deserve to go out there for a 5th and playing with fire there a little bit. But you wanted to get the right on right, and then you went to Castillo. Felt like you should have done that again with Rogers, who was already in the game and has done some up downs for you this season. So I'm surprised they didn't do a chance. They didn't give Rogers the out there with Turner and then go to Raley for Schwarber and Harper. Obviously, no harm, no foul, but I did kind of file that one away. It was Helsley there in the 8th, and just to get in front of it, it didn't matter because the Mets had blown the game open, but he was clearly going to be the guy in the 8th because he has the best numbers against lefties, and there was going to be at-bats to, what was that? What part of the order would that have been? That would have been Marsh and Kepler, 2 lefties. So it would have been Helsley because he had the best numbers against the lefties. Good to see him have that clean inning, right? Good to see him have a 1-2-3. Yes, some hard hit balls, but it's about confidence right now for him. Tipping his pitches. He just needs to have a clean outing and start building himself back up. And he certainly did that in Stanek. Gave the Mets a good 9th, did have the walk, but worked around it with no real serious trouble. I do want to talk about some other decisions that I didn't love in this game from Carlos Mendoza. Bunting with McNeil in the 6th. This is one of your hottest hitters. This is a guy who, in his last at-bat, hit an RBI single that tied the game for you, right? In the 4th, he tied the game with the RBI single that just got past the glove of Trey Turner. At that point, obviously, you don't know what the rest of the game is going to look like, but at that point, it's 4-3. Do you really think the game's going to stay at 5-3? It clearly didn't because the Mets blew the doors off of it, but playing for 1 run there felt a little odd, and I don't love doing that with one of the hottest hitters in your lineup. That one was weird to me. I mentioned Senga starting the 5th. That one felt odd. But the Mets got through it. They blew the game open. And here we are talking about a team that drew 1 game closer in the standings, now just 6 games back of the NL East leading Phillies. Who asked me this? I want to give credit where credit is due. It is Jay who asked a pair of questions, so we'll get to them here. Who are you happiest about, Torrens, Vientos, or Taylor? Man, between those three, it's really hard to pick. Torrens with the 5 RBI night, including the big home run. Vientos has been breaking out. We gave Vientos some love over the weekend, so I don't think I'll pick him just because of that. And Tyrone Taylor, he's really started to turn it on for this team. And I had it in the notes. In the first inning, he makes that dive to try to get the ball that Turner hit that ended up being the triple that broke the game open for the Phillies. They got on the board first. And I wondered, and I wrote it down in the notes, that with Taylor playing left field when Mullins is in there, I wonder if he was trying to make a play there to show, like, hey, play me in center more regularly, please. Luckily, it didn't come back to haunt the Mets, but that thought did cross my mind. Great defense from Taylor. The base running, it's between Torrens and Taylor. I'm happiest about Taylor because I think that defense in center field is going to play. And if he can hit the way he's been hitting as of late, I don't think there's any reason why he shouldn't be in the lineup. And it's Jesus Luzardo tomorrow for the Phillies, so you would expect him to be in there tomorrow. And then Jay also asked who else is coming because Garrett is on the IL. The move for Garrett was Jose Castillo. That was the move that they made for him on the roster. So if they're going to make another move, it'll be Castillo, who they can DFA. I don't think he has any options. He may have a couple. Or Brazoban has 2 options, and I believe Castillo would have to be DFA'd. So those are the 2 maneuverable roster spots in the bullpen if they do want to make a move and get somebody like a Tong or a Sprout up, or as Max mentioned, McGill potentially could be back here. He's got one more start probably down in the minors before they are going to entertain bringing him up, and he could be that 6th starter here in a couple of days. So these are the things right now for this team. Played well tonight, carry that momentum into tomorrow, pass the baton. Now it's Sean Manaea's turn to do his thing on the mound, hopefully have that breakout performance that we've just been clamoring for since he came back from the injured list, and just hope that you can get healthy, hope that you can get the reinforcements, whoever they may be, for the 6th starter in the rotation to help piggyback off of Kodai Senga starts, and just hope that this offensive breakout that we've seen over the last couple of days is for real. How could you not love what you saw tonight? The fight from the New York Mets, 13 unanswered. Big day for Luis Torrens. They did all of it with Alonso, Lindor, and Soto combining for 0 RBI. 0 runs batted in from those 3 gentlemen. The Mets still put up a 13 spot. And boy, does it feel good. I'm sure many of you felt good after Alec Boehm complains and the Mets have to spend 14 minutes with a delay moving some sound equipment out there in center field to get the quick ground out to immediately take the lead and pour it on. That was kind of the cherry on top of you were complaining. Well, there you go. How's that complaining going for you there, Alec Boehm? So that was just a little cherry on top, at least for me, watching this game. Sean Manaea, Jesus Luzardo tomorrow in the 2nd game of this series. The Mets look to win the series. They look to get another game closer in the NL East. They look to build some momentum. They're going to see a lot of this Philadelphia team. They started some big momentum tonight. They leaned on the Philadelphia Phillies. They didn't let up. They just continued to pour it on. More of that tomorrow. We will be right back here to break all of that down here on the Mets Postcast, Locked On Mets YouTube channel. Go ahead. If you're new here, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on that notification bell so that you are notified when we go live after each and every Mets game throughout the course of the season. If you're listening to us in the podcast feed, we appreciate you. If you want to join us live, you know where to do that. The Locked On Mets YouTube channel is the place to be. The Mets have a massive opener of this series. They crush Philadelphia, 13 unanswered runs. Basically, everybody contributes. It's a big night for Luis Torrens. The bullpen looked great. It was just a good night for the New York Mets, and for a team that's going to play a lot of this Philadelphia squad over the next 17 days or so, a huge opening act for this team. We're back tomorrow to break down Game 2 of this series. Have a good one, Mets fans.